waymaker. He fills us up until we overflow. It's so wonderful to know He's in control. Yeah, He's in control. God comes to the rescue. When things are falling apart, He'll be there to help you because He cares. He wants what's best for you. In every matter of life, He will see you through. So if you're ever feeling lonely, know He's there for you. If you ever lost a love, He will comfort you. He will pick you up when you are down. Open your eyes, see what's in front of you. The world created all these factions to blind you from the truth. Your hand is holding you. It's so good to know He's our joy, life, healer, provider, protector, waymaker. He fills us up until we overflow. It's so wonderful to know He's in control.
Yes, indeed, chosen elect family, Yah is indeed love. And this is why I'm here. And I pray that it's the reason why you're here as well. We're back on another journey to truth and life, where we utilize the power of truth to be set free from the chains of deception. Mental, spiritual bondage is the global condition. And according to my personal faith in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 31 and 32, only when you abide in truth can you be truly set free. Set free from the deception, from the spiritual warfare attacks that have repressed and oppressed humanity for far too long. And today's live stream, we are going to expose the perpetrators behind these atrocious attacks on human lives. Of course, I've gone over it time and time again, warning communities, families, that psychological warfare is taking place through these deep state agencies. Now, who is the deep state? Well, they're the ones who are carrying out these psychological warfare operations along with deceptions. And we know that Satan, the devil, the wicked fallen one, that is the spirit that deception derives from. Christ said it himself that when the devil deceives, manipulates, psychological warfares, he does it of his own nature. And the books of Paul, he goes on further to describe how if the enemy deceives as an angel of light, it's no marvel. It shouldn't come as a surprise that those that serve him in secret, these Luciferians, these evildoers, workers of iniquity, will disguise themselves as workers of light as well. And so the deep state, which is the autonomous government sector with no oversight, they are perpetrating these operations of deceptions along with new age quantum physics, concocted electromagnetic anti-personal assaults, and cybernetic neural experimentations, much reflective of Adolf Hitler's MK Ultra monarch. And we do have a guest in the building, Night Tigers in the building, along with my sister, Trish Jerome. I definitely appreciate your presence. And I will be adding the live stream link for those of you who want your short story to be heard tonight. If we have multiple guests on at the same time, I will do my best to moderate or facilitate the conversation. So therefore, the message comes across clear that there are crimes being perpetrated here in the United Snakes of America, and they need to be exposed. And the provocateurs, the agent provocateurs that are being paid and enticed, they need to be exposed as well. So if you have names, if you have license plates numbers, if you know the person's address or where they work, let's be specific and detailed as possible concerning these matters, because it only makes us look crazy when we say people in, white cars or random descriptions that are very vague. We want to be specific as possible because the objective is to expose and pursue due process and justice, not just earthly, but divine justice. And that comes with spiritual communion and relationship with the Heavenly Father, keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments. He said, if my people will, which are called by my name, according to my faith, will humble themselves and seek my faith, meaning turning back to the laws that govern his children, govern his righteous creation. If we are to turn back to that, then he will hear our cry, he will hear our pleas, and then he will come in and heal. He will begin to set things right. So we need divine intervention with the obstacles of warfare that we're up against, both spiritually and naturally. But through quantum physics and the military industrial complex, including Silicon Valley, electromagnetic weapons, which some may refer to as directed energy weapons, meaning microwave radiation weapons that are definitely carcinogenic, meaning they have the ability to mutate your cells and cause cancers, short term, long term, and more. Well, I'll digress and get back to it after I'm done reading this. It says psychological warfare operations and deceptions, along with electromagnetic anti-personal assaults, are being run in America by the deep state, government agencies, autonomous sectors such as the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the Department of Defense, and Department of Justice. In normal settings, these crimes will be subcontracted out to civilians, most notably associated with private security and community policing organizations, firms, and sectors. The reason being, I wish I had my Law 101 book. The reason being is because federal crimes can only be committed by federal agencies and their representatives. So if there's a crime that forbids the federal government enacting and perpetuating such an act, they loophole the situation by subcontracting it out to civilians that are not directly linked to government agencies. So they know how to, finesse the circumstance to be in their favor. This is why civilians are taught the tricks of the trade, which is spying, hacking, harassing, gaslighting, spreading of lies, rumors for the counterintelligence, etc. This crime needs to be exposed, and it is happening. I have been a victim of this. I now consider myself a victor because I'm still standing at the end of it all. By the help of my Heavenly Father, the Most High Yah, may I add. But the Department of Justice, and we're familiar with the um, recent FISA abuse trials that was oversighted by Majority Leader uh, Jordan, Jim Jordan, Senator Jim Jordan. Uh, goes on to say that all participating are accomplices to potential murder. That is the long term objective, in some cases, short term objectives, because the federal government did authorize an assassination attempt on my life. And it was attempted to be carried out on a couple of occasions. One, they wanted to make it seem like an accident by removing the lug nuts off my personal vehicle, and the tires came off. The Most High saved my skin. He saved my life. Another time, they put my commercial work vehicle in the shop when I worked at Spirit Trucking, located at 47th Street in Chicago, Illinois. And they removed the bolts that attach the transmission and the drive shaft. The vehicle locked up. I'm heading down the Stevenson Expressway, and everything fell out behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler that is out of control. And it was only the Most High's hand, His power, His grace, that safely guided me in that commercial vehicle uh, to a safe location on the shoulder of the expressway. I had no control. In normal circumstances, it would have a jackknife. Don't have time to explain what a tractor trailer jackknife is. If you don't know, Bing it, Google it, Yahoo it, and educate yourself. Um, Now, the way that these crimes are perpetrated is these agencies begin with placing plants in your communities, on your job, and every social aspect of communication and rapport, even in your family. And they will begin to spread lies, slander, libel, which means libel is anything that costs you money, calls you from getting a job or business, etc., and defamation about these outstanding community members. I'm a victim of this, and we have Jesus Saves in the building says, you will never get the government to end the program because before it was referred to as such, it was simply called demon possession. There is nothing new under the sun. They're definitely demon possessed. Well, demon um, possession, as we mentioned, is nothing more than conscious hacking. And today they can do it through the technology. So consciousness hacking, as Dr. Robert Duncan exposed it in his book, and he was a physicist, tech developer for the Central Intelligence Agency. He called it neurohydrodyning, meaning hijacking someone's thought process by a remote um, individual, and it gets a little bit, um, or remote server. It's a bit complicated, but basically, you're talking about demon possession. Someone else, another person, is in control of that individual's motor, vocals, behavior, etc. They've essentially been body hijacked. Their body's been hijacked, and this technology of consciousness hacking, it definitely it exists. And so that's the age that we're in with the neurotech, and they are definitely the temples of the wicked one. Now that goes into the spirit of the Antichrist. Paul says, and Paul says, and John further explains in First John, I believe, chapter 3, 2 or 3, we can actually read it, that there's been many antichrists, and the way that you can identify is that spirit will not accept the fact that Christ has come in the flesh. They will not accept Christ as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. They will not accept the fact that he was the embodiment of the law living in human form, in human flesh. They will deny that. And that's how you know the spirit of Antichrist. They will talk religion. They will use words like God and deity, etc. But in order to circumvent getting to the specific, that's the reason why as victims of this crime, we need to be specific. What happened, when, and where? Who was involved? Etc. But the defamation about the outstanding community members and obtaining wrongful, illegitimate court authorizations from corrupt judges. And context, these crimes are definitely spiritual, but they're also physical, natural as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't need the Congress to authorize funding for such a project. There'd be no funding. Spiritual warfare don't need funding behind it. You know what I mean? But in order to carry it out naturally, these demonic onslaughts, yes, you need funding for natural things. Caesar needs Caesar's coins and dinars in order to fund Caesar's Babylonian projects. But anything that is spiritual is going to, take place as spiritual things occur. And this is why the only way we can truly have ultimate victory over this ordeal is by coming into the Most High Yah's will. It is a spiritual warfare. It is prophecy being fulfilled. Daniel's prophecy of the saints being worn out by this Antichrist beast system. The book of Revelation further describing how this Antichrist spirit will make war against the saints for a time and a season. But those that stand with Christ, faithfully walking with him, they will obtain victory. But illegitimate federal investigations as suspected terrorist, I'm not a terrorist, extremist, mentally unstable, prostitutes, pedophile, and any other foul description they could characterize someone pseudosly with. And this form of psychological abuse and warfare is an attempt to destroy a person's morale, their morals, characters, and their values and respect amongst the people. Some of this includes, but it's not limited to, the ridicule, slander, intimidation, criticism, if you've ever experienced this, rejection, mocking, blame, false accusations, avoidance, gang stalking, destruction of property, riots, and mobbing, identity fraud, sexual abuse. And that one goes back to what the scripture tells us in the book of Revelations, I believe, chapter 7, or maybe chapter 11, where it says America and this Western world NATO system will be the spiritual reemergence of Sodom and Gomorrah. If you don't know about the Sodom and Gomorrah story in the scripture, I urge you to read it. Sodom and Gomorrah was sexually, immorally corrupted. This is evident here in the United States of America, and the laws and the liberal, so-called liberal lifestyle acceptance, including pedophilia, is an abomination before the Most High. Theft, unjustifiable imprisonment and fines, bodily harm, and ultimately the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, so murder. We have more in the building. Tragic Magic is back. Says demonic possession often after a perp joins. It says demon possession people by exploiting vulnerabilities in the bodies, which has portals. Your sense of hearing can be utilized against you in what may cause noise harassment, but it is simply that sense in particular that it is being hijacked or misused. It says, all right, so there's some disagreements here, and the chat says the NSA runs the worldwide surveillance program. The sense, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow every person, because this is an open platform, people to come on and express themselves. And this is what this live stream was designed to do, is for people to express themselves. So I'm going to share the link in the chat, which ultimately you'll click on. You'll be able to come on, be respectful. I will attempt to moderate, so everyone's going to have the opportunity to express themselves in a timely fashion, answer questions, and give their testimony or in their personal perspective of how they see this deep state crime. Just one moment. All right, you guys should see the link in the chat. If you click on that and you come on backstage, I will definitely add you on. Now, I will say that my personal my targeting was both spiritual and natural. I experienced the overt portions of the targeting when I around 2013, 2014 ish, when I was working for a company by the name of Schneider and a Modal. While I was there, they used people who looked at somewhat similar to me, but they were demons. Most of them, not all of them, but they were demonically possessed, if you will. The names include Curtis Bogart, who was a feminine auxiliary police officer for the Department of Homeland Security. Uh, they also used Ernest Young, who was a Christian minister working also at that location. They also brought in someone by the name of Lance Underwood, who was the terminal manager. Lance Underwood, you can find him on LinkedIn. So I'm going to attempt to put a face with these accusations. Please be sure to share this video, and if uh, they want to dispute it, I would more than welcome them onto this platform to do so. But this is the individual that was the head boss. This guy here. This is the face of the person that I worked with. And again, his name is Lance Underwood. You can find him on LinkedIn. He's fully aware of what happened when the United States government launched this counterintelligence attack on my life during my tenure at Schneider and Modal, located at 3600 Cosner Avenue. That's Kosner Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. So, see, I don't see anyone backstage, but if you click the link, I will add you into the live stream. You can come in, and if you have scriptural, biblical ideals to express what is going on, please do so. If you have natural experiences that you want to express to the world, this is your opportunity. This is your chance, and I'm opening up the platform for you to do so. I understand the spiritual as well as the natural implications of this program. And Jesus Saves us definitely on to something. I want everyone to know he's not off. He's taking a spiritual view on the situation versus merely looking at it from a 2D natural view on the situation. It is essentially the those with the spirit of Christ in them being attacked by legion. So this is described in the book of Revelation, where John, he stood up on the sands of the sea, and some people may call them marine spirits or the marine kingdom, etc. But he saw a beast come out, and that beast is the same beast that was cast into the sea by Christ through the swine. These are the legion spirits, and I can describe to you what legion was and where they come from. They're but we have tragic magic in the building, so I'll digress from that. Welcome, my brother. We had such a edifying conversation on the last live stream. I am ecstatic to have you back in the building. How have things been, my brother?
How you doing, man? Yeah, that was a real chill live we had last time. I watched the whole thing again after like maybe a day or two after. Yeah, it was cool. I'm all right. I'm cool. I just decided to like pop in. I'm at work, so if I get off abruptly, that means someone is walking through. So don't mind that.
Is perfectly fine. We all have lives that we must sustain.
Yeah.
And so I understand. I myself am a father, and unfortunately, I have not had the um, pleasure of being in my children's life due to this inhumane program,
Oh.
which have completely kept me from doing so. If you don't mind, I'm going to add a third person. You guys know her as Bluffy the Narc Slayer. I had the pleasure of personally speaking with this young woman who is now in my state, Louisiana. Trish Jerome is in the building. How's it going?
Hey, hey, what's up? Still dealing with, it's like I'm still dealing with allergies over here. It's been serious.
Well, welcome to the deep south. It only gets
Yeah.
worse. You
Oh
know what I
my
mean? It only gets
gosh.
worse. Yeah,
All right, thanks for the heads up. I'm excited to it feels so weird being on the other side
yeah.
of it, the live stream.
Uh,
So weird.
well, you're normally doing the live streams, and I
Mhm.
believe I've had the opportunity to kind of simulcast one venture with you, and so I'm confident that you know how to orate the situation very well.
And
Now,
I saw somebody, huh?
no, go ahead. Go ahead. You were speaking.
Yeah, and I saw somebody posted in the comment section that they're basically implying that if you vibrate high, then I guess your targeting would lessen, but that's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
Well, I mean, I don't
The
want
targeting
to
doesn't
be.
change whether you're vibrating high or vibrating low.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know what their definition of that is.
Hmm.
And so I don't want to belittle their input or any of you
Hmm.
guys' input. I just want to provide a safe haven, a platform for you guys to present your story
Mm.
as you have experienced it. And so my personal experience is that when I was uh, in good high vibrations, I guess if people use that word, I hate using it, but I was happy. Things seemed to be going well. My thoughts were healthy and positive. That's when the workers of iniquity, the darkness, they attacked me. That's when I got attacked, is when I got closer to Christ, when my walk started to become positive, and I was like finally in a serene place of peace and serendipity, where I was like, man, I'm finally on on track in life, headed in a direction of where I want to be, pursuing happiness. And that's when, the gates of hell rose up against me. Now, I can't speak for anyone else. They may have been down in a gutter, but that's their story. I'll start with tragic Magic first and have him speak, since he's kind of on work restricted times, and then Trish, you follow up with your response. What was your life like when the targeting began? Were you at peace? Were you in good spirits? Or were you kind of already facing challenges when you noticed the targeting?
Okay. Life before I was targeted. All right. I guess. So this would be like my teenage years. I guess it was my life was just like anyone else's life. I don't really remember doing anything too crazy or, something to, arise suspicion from law enforcement or whatever. I consider myself a normal person, and I've never, you know, I would say I don't know what it is or what started it, or I don't know. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
So, Trish brought up the fact that someone in the live stream had mentioned if you have good vibes, so to speak, if you think positive and things seem to be going well in your life, you're optimistic. I'm assuming that the targeting will stop and so forth. So I'm
Mhm.
asking you
Okay.
personally, were you like optimistic
No, okay, I
and
get it. I got
etc.?
you. Got you. Okay, no. So I would say I was kind of I had like self-esteem issues. I was very introverted, very shy. I smoked a lot of weed. I drank alcohol, but that's what all the kids did, in that time. Like life for me before I was targeted, I don't know if you guys, I'm an older cat. If you ever heard of this movie called Kids, it came out in 1995. If maybe your viewers heard that, that's how my life was before I got targeted. Just a regular kid hanging out with my friends, smoking weed and drinking. I was not happy and optimistic. I had low self esteem and I was very introverted and shy.
Okay, that's interesting. And by the way, Trish, it is telling me on my end that you need to add the camera and mic before you can be added to the live stream. So I'm not doing anything. You did pop back. You abruptly was taken out of the live stream, and then when you pop back in, it said something about your microphone and your video camera, and it would not let me add you. So if you can check your device and please come back on because we definitely want your input and edification in this live stream. And anyone else, you're more than welcome to come aboard. But I'm hearing you, my brother. You're saying that basically things were kind of down the middle for you, not
Exactly.
too high, not too low, and it was just you were living normalcy with challenges, ups and downs, and the program commenced on your life, basically.
Yeah, eventually that's what happened. And also another thing, I guess this would see I relate a lot of my to the FBI threat assessment and being a person of concern because it resonates to me when I read it. So right before I guess I was targeted, this is what happened, right? I had me and my friends, whatever, and we were a clique. We was like maybe 10 of us, and we hung out for birthdays. We were tight. And then two of my friends hooked up with my girl when I went away. And then we kind of all beefed and all turned against me. And then when I was a teenager, I had no one in a neighborhood really to hang out with anymore. So then I kind of started being a loner. And, I wasn't always hot, happy. So I used to drink and smoke by myself at the river. And when I felt better, I came home. All right, I'm gonna put you guys on mute. I gotta go.
All right. So he's got to
I have
attend to
water.
his job. So Trish, you're on the same question. About the vibrations. What was your experience like when your targeting went overt? Are you able to hear me, Trish? Hello. Uh, I'm not sure if she can hear me.
Okay,
Maybe
can you hear me now?
I can. I
Okay,
can.
perfect.
Go
I'm
All
ahead.
back.
right.
Go ahead.
So, yep, sorry about that. But yeah, no, when my targeting went overt, it was like I had no idea what was going on. I thought that I was dealing with narcissistic neighbors because as soon as how my targeting started is that I was actually homeless because I went through some hard times. I had this crazy roommate. I ended up getting my license and I was like, you know what? I would rather live in my car for a little bit, figure out what I'm going to do for work. So then I lived in my car for about 6 months. I ended up getting a good job, got an apartment in Louisiana. I start driving down to Louisiana and I did see a bunch of weird things on the road where like I would be driving at maybe like 3 a.m. in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, right? And there would be a red car, like a red pickup truck following me the entire time with the high beams on. But I never thought it. I thought they were just a crazy person. And then as soon as I crossed the state lines into Louisiana, that's when all these cars they surrounded me, mobbed me, but I didn't get it at the time. And I was like, how come all these cars look toe up? I was like, well, this is country, I guess, right? And once I got to my apartment, they had perps waiting outside. When I was unloading my car to get into the apartment, people were walking by my apartment and looking into my apartment. And then when I was done, loading my taking everything out of my car and putting it into the apartment, that's when the noise campaigns from my above neighbors started. But I thought that it was just like, oh, they have a kid, so. But then it escalated and it increased over time, but I ended up getting them evicted. And then it was after that's when all hell went loose, like everything broke loose. And that's when I realized I was being targeted, because then the program ended up sending a fake friend into my life to let me know I was being targeted. It was crazy.
Yeah. These um, field agents or
Hmm.
agent provocateurs, community harassers seem to be loosely connected in some form or another. Now, the only organization that I'm familiar with such characteristics would be the Masonic Order. And of course, there's occults and things of that nature that are definitely associated with the um, what they call fair game theory. Now, if you guys don't know what fair game theory is, through the um, abominative Church of Scientology, their core beliefs is that anyone who's not a member or a member that becomes ostracized by their very weird science community is fair game to be harassed and tortured until death. They apply this to everyone. So, in the Masonic order, they would call it the white glove or slow dagger treatment. And this seems to be the very same format that our assailants are patterning these actions after is masonry, um, Nazism, and of course occultism. Uh, there's a lot of comments in the live stream. Jesus says, if you want to come on, click on that link, and I would love to have you, express from a spiritual standpoint your point of view, because we can read what you're saying, but only you can properly interpret how um, you're expressing yourself. So please click on that link if you want to come on. But like I said, this program needs to be exposed, and order for us to do that, we need to be very specific uh, in how we do so. This is, how investigations unravel, right? So you would look for a motive, and you would say, okay, who's the suspects behind it? You would get details on the suspect, including license plates, pictures, photos. You would targeted individuals need to keep a small little flip notepad, pocket notepad, which you can get from the Dollar Tree, Walmart, anywhere, and a pen in their pocket at all times to jot down license plates, numbers, voice recorders. You can go on Amazon or maybe to Best Buy and get a voice recorder. Keep that in your pocket at all times, as well as a quick cam, a solo quick cam to take pictures. And also, when these agent provocateurs are trying to engage you in conversation, just subtly ask them, what is your name? Now, they may give you a erroneous alias or something like that. Write that down along with any other identifiers, where they work. Most workplaces require name tags. So, write that down. If you see them get into a vehicle, write that vehicle license plate number down, and the date and the time and the location. You can utilize Google Maps and say ping my location, or Apple Maps, and it will give you the address of the location you are currently at. Write down the times and the dates and be specific. Build a case against these criminals. Therefore, we can not only get spiritual justice, but physical justice as well.
Right. And then the one thing I wanted to add on how you were saying they believe they can do whatever they want to people who aren't them, basically. That comes from the Talmud.
Say that again.
It does.
I know about that book.
Yeah, like the idea that they can do whatever they want to people who aren't them, that actually comes from the Talmud, the
We are
synagogue of
goyim.
yeah, that's where it comes from, and this is the belief system.
I know
Because
all.
right,
Yep.
because people keep saying the Freemasons, it's actually a lot higher. There's
That
groups a lot higher than them. They're not
I
even
have to agree with that. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not so versed in secret societies. I'm a beginner when it comes to that. But like you said, I think there is something higher. I agree. I just wanted to agree with that. Continue.
yeah, no problem. And we've been deceived into thinking that the Freemasons are the top dogs. They're actually not. They're not.
No,
So I
yeah,
just want to put that out there. We're dealing with more than just the Freemasons here. This goes like high level.
I definitely agree. Now, this, according to my personal belief, is the manifestation of Satan's kingdom, the fallen angels and their offspring, uh, you know, um, manifesting themselves in these end times. And so there are certain bloodlines, there are secret occults, and this is evident even in the money or economical system. If you look at your U.S. dollar, minted dollar, everything's symbolic through Luciferianism, Masonry, occultism, etc. It has meaning behind each symbol, each one of the, uh, whatever you want to call them, like seals, the U.S. seal. It has a deeper spiritual occultic meaning behind it. All of this is scriptural. We can get into that if you guys want to. Like I said, this is your opportunity to express yourselves. Uh, wanted to ask as well whether or not any of the people involved in your targeting was family. Have you had the experience of family involvement? And I'll allow Trish to go first this time, and then Tragic, you'll follow.
I
Trish,
think
are you there?
she's having a conversation on chat, I think.
Yeah, what was the question?
The question simply is uh, family involvement in this targeting campaign. Have you experienced family or close loved ones being directly involved in your targeting, harassment, Holocaust?
Now, this is tough to say because there were weird things that happened to me when I was a child. And then they were like, I was like the family scapegoat. And I do find it ironic how it was after I cut off my narcissistic family, about a year later, I started being targeted. So I think there is, but I don't want to speak on them incorrectly. So I'm not sure.
Hello?
I try to speak up clearly. You kind of faded out.
Okay. So yeah, they're messing with my they do that they do this all the time. So I was just saying that I have seen weird things and I've experienced weird things as a child. And I'm actually the family scapegoat. But at the same time, I mean, well, I do find it funny how I decided to cut off my family after years of psychological abuse, and it was a year later I started being gang stalked. But then the weird thing about it is that they are the ones who were helping me pay my bills when this program sabotaged my work opportunities. So it's kind of confusing. I'm not too sure what's going on my end
All right,
regarding family.
so we have one person who's confused as to whether or not their family is or isn't involved. Tragic, the same question. Family, loved ones. You mentioned close friends being involved. Um, anything else?
Okay. So for the most part, not my family. Like specifically like my parents and my siblings. Like I've gone through hell and back just trying to explain to them what's happening to me and prove it to them. So they're not a part of it. Now, when I was targeted for the first time when I lived in Manhattan, I've had friends and neighbors and people kind of around me that did not know that were not even involved. So I kind of want to put that out there. I think people should understand that. Um, and also my closest friends, they were not turned against me. They were not part of it. They were not assigned to do tasks. And but now during my second targeting, when I went to Serbia, now I'm getting perped over there, and I already expected that. Now, when it comes to family, now it's tricky. Now, I think I got perped by my family. All right. Now, not my father and my brother, but like cousins and stuff like that. Because one of their stupid things they like to do is hand gestures, right? They like to touch their nose and pinch their nose. That's a trigger for me. So they started having everyone I was at a wedding and people started doing that, and I'm looking at my table and the people at the table started doing that. You know what I mean? So it could be or it could not be. I don't know. But what I do is I try not to just get too deep into it. But for the most part, no. But now recently when I went to Serbia, possibly.
Okay, so we have two uncertainties, and this is why I encourage targeted individuals once again to you know, uh, take pictures, record. Yeah, you want to uh, not just experience the circumstance, but you want to have the opportunity to let time pass so you can digest
Yeah.
what happened. You want evidence that you can review to be specific and certain about what has happened. And so I'm assuming, you know, by me having close ties with someone who operated this way in their tenure of law enforcement, it allowed me to think in such a capacity that I would say it might be an advantage compared to the average targeted individual. When these things started occurring, my first initial reaction was to start documenting. You know what I mean? The situation versus experiencing it and going through the emotional roller coaster of thought, you know, etc. So my initial thing was, um, you know, start to document what's going on. They would often mispronunciate my name, and then that became like a theme for them where they just kind of honed in. And I was like, just check my birth certificate. It's available on the Federal Vital Records Department. You know what I mean? Would you like me to bring you in my birth certificate? And it's like, no, don't do that, because you know that kills the fun. It kills the propaganda and etc. And it went from that to other gaslighting tactics, but I always, you know, was able to document who was involved, etc., in order to pursue criminal and civil charges. Civil charges cover punitive, compensatory, and pain and suffering that has occurred. So you can be restituted for the damages that's been done. And I believe we need to start pursuing this. Otherwise, we're just on here kind of venting. It's definitely necessary to vent. It's a therapy mechanism, venting is. But we want to go beyond just venting and healing. We want to be restored. The scripture speaks of restoration. He said he will restore unto you. And this is where divine intervention, the Holy Spirit have to come in. The years that the cankerworms, and these people have cankerworm spirits. Cankerworms is something that where you're being fruitful, where your harvest is coming in, they consume it before you can enjoy it. And that's the spirit that's on these people. They come to consume the abundancy of life that you have sowed and you are due to reap. And this is my personal position holistically from a spiritual, natural, um, political, mental, however you want to um, approach this targeting situation. You know, I'm here to accommodate you. So my next question would simply be, how have this affected you mentally and socially? Have you changed in order to accommodate the nuance of COINTELPRO attacks on your life?
Who you asking first?
I'll ask you, Tragic, and then I'll allow Trish, who for some reason just dropped out of the live stream,
They're
to
messing with us.
respond.
Yeah, they're messing with the service, it looks like. All right, I'll answer that.
Sure.
What it did to me, well, okay, well, when I was younger, right, I didn't know the cops were doing this. I thought it was just something was happening to people. So what it did, it made me agoraphobic. I started getting panic attacks. You know, I was always paranoid. You know, when I was always out and this and that, and I felt like I was, like, people knew that I was a bad person. It diminished my self-esteem. It made me withdraw from life. And when I started losing, like acquaintances and people I played ball with, they started looking at me like they wanted to avoid me. So and after a while, I was just like, oh man. So I started being extra nice to people so that I wouldn't lose any more people. But then the people took that as, oh, I'm thirsty to have friends, and I'm like pathetic and this and that. And this program turned my life upside down. And
Wow.
yeah, it completely turned my life upside down when I was young. And you know, I didn't know I was being targeted, but you know, I've went through a lot of things. I cannot even say if it was because of that or not. I was an alcoholic. I drank every day for a long time. Smoked a lot of weed, and I've had my, you know, regular problem. I had life going on as well, so I had problems in life, and then this thing came, you know, and it completely just turned my life upside down. It took away any type of self-esteem I had, and I was agoraphobic, and life was horrible, you know. And that's how it was when I was young. So now that it's happening again for the second time, I'm a little more older and I'm a little more informed. And now I have people like you guys to talk about this with. And I know that I'm not alone. So, you know, it's a little easier now, you know. And I guess what I try to do is just stay positive. I try to ignore them. I try to work out and be healthy, and I do what I can to keep myself happy and positive.
Absolutely. And
Uh,
for me personally, what this program continues to do, not just have done, but continues to do, it continues to sabotage my organic social life. My
exactly.
organic social life being those that I know, those that I have built over times, rapport and established relationships with, and anyone that I meet genuinely that is not associated with this program. They're pulled to the side and they are fed lies or negative feats about me in order to discourage them from interacting with me. All conversations are monitored, etc. And this has gone on for quite some time. They've even used mental health as an excuse. They've used crime as an excuse, and I'm underneath the assumption that if someone is a criminal, then ultimately they're charged with a crime and they're taken to court for due process. That never occurs. It just is a mechanism in order to destroy my social atmosphere. And what they'll do is they'll take away all my organic social connections and they will place plants.
Yeah.
So all the new people in my life will be purposely placed there by this program. And everyone that I've known will tend to avoid me through phone calls, through conversation, through personal contact. And they will never be able to discuss the nature of why they're doing so. Also, through the Risk app and other media platforms, my character will be assassinated in order to further discourage people from, wanting to have any dealings with me. And of course, by nature, you become apprehensive to building established rapport to people who are planted in your life due to a program that have sabotaged you, the life that you're supposed to have. You know what I mean? I don't want a life that the B system gives me. I don't want friends and relationships that they give me. I want the organic, real truth. This is why I call this the journey of truth in life. You know what I mean? What they'll do is they'll give you the lie to believe and to accept as, and this is one way that these demon beings have control over someone's life. Targeted individuals or tested individuals, as I like to call them, are ones that cannot be controlled by the system. And this is what makes them afraid. So, in order for them to do so, them being Scientologists, scientific thinkers, one of the scientific processes is called a controlled experiment. You know what I mean? A controlled situation. That's when you can literally manipulate every aspect of the environment around that which is being tested. And this is why I use the word tested individuals. Trish is back in the building. I hope they stop playing with your phone and allow you to really express yourself. So, are you able to hear me, Trish? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So,
Well,
yeah, I'm going to allow you to express what you think overall regarding this program. What is the purpose of it? Why is, has it unraveled in your life? And ultimately, what is the solution? Go ahead. You have the floor.
so, me personally, I've thought about this a lot. And one of the conclusions I've come to is we'll never truly know what this program is about because we don't have the same mindsets as the people behind this program. We're dealing with serpent seed, irrational, delusional, schizophrenic, demonic, satanic individuals who don't think the way that we do. So we'll never be able to understand why they would just do this, to people other than just wickedness, which is what they love to do. They love to destroy things. They can't build any. It's like they're not good at building things. They're way better at destroying things. So me personally, I think that with their mindset, God is going to give them enough rope to hang themselves. And that what's going to happen is, again, and we see it in real time, they're getting way too cocky. They're getting way too prideful. They don't care, whether they're making themselves super obvious. The word is getting out on the street because they don't care. Because they believe that they have all this pride, that they're untouchable. And what's going to happen is they're going to give themselves up. They're going to hang themselves with that little rope that God has given them. And we're going to watch this program implode. I believe so. Now, do I think it's going to have some sort of, there's going to be some magical fairy tale ending? I doubt it. Because the kingdom of darkness, they don't like to let us know when they've lost. I wouldn't be surprised if one day we wake up and it just all stops. And we never, or, they start pointing fingers at the low level people. I don't know. But my solution on how to deal with this program is just to remain as close to God as you can. Read encouraging words, build community, even if it's just one other tested individual that you're talking with. It's better than not talking to anyone at all.
Yeah, and my thing is like they won't allow me to talk to anyone that they're not controlling. I mean, literally, I had a elder brother, blood related, come here during December, and they were literally like on his phone, and he had to admit toward the end, he was like, "Man, you have a spiritual gift, like to be able to discern these things, and so forth." And it's just amazing how they are so enamored with like controlling every aspect of your interactions and communication. What I believe they fear the most from observing this is influence. They're afraid of you know how they influence the world as you describe in a negative, chaotic, destructive way. They're afraid that anyone who comes with the antithesis, a spirit opposite of their destructive, murderous ways, is going to bring life into the world instead of the death they would like to perpetuate. They breathe death into our relationships, our finances, our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, our growth mentally, spiritually, emotionally, etc. And when we come about and we interact with people, true chosen elect, tested individuals tend to add life to those that they, interact with. Those that when we're sent into someone's life, we tend to breathe life, the ruach, into them. If they're feeling discouraged, we breathe encouragement. If they're feeling depressed, we breathe joy. If they're blind, we tend to speak words that allow them to vision ahead. And this is what they don't want. They want to remove the lights of the world. Therefore, they can perpetuate uh, this kingdom and darkness. And it's spoken of in the book of John, chapter 3. And I'll go there real quick so that you guys can, um, see that I don't just be talking this stuff off the top of my head. Um, Most people go to John 3 and then it's like, well, God so loved the world, but they negate like some of the more important parts of John chapter 3. And it says, all right, for the Most High has not sent his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him not is sorry, let me slow down. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not in this truth, right, is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yah. And this is the condemnation, that light, this truth, this love, that spirit that lives in us is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. So anyone whose deeds is evil, they're going to hate that light. They're going to hate that, that spirit that we come in, like, not to harm anyone. I'm not perfect by far, but I've never woken up in with intentions to do evil, to do bad things, or to harm anyone. You know what I mean? I've never just woke up with the ideal of, hey, I'm going to do something evil to someone. I'm going to mess up today. My goal is to be a better person today than I was on yesterday. And tomorrow, my goal is to be a better person on tomorrow than I was on today, and to continue to grow in that merit of excellence, striving towards excellency and perfection. Now, on the other hand, I understand that there are people that is the very opposite of that. Their ideal is to wake up tomorrow morning and to be more wicked tomorrow than they were today. And they're more wicked today than they were yesterday. They continue to grow in the darkness, into the evil, and that's kind of like tragic magic is funny, right? Like, that's kind of weird, to knowing that somebody wakes up in the morning like,
It's true.
like, oh, how evil and wicked can I be today? You know what I mean? Like, I
Absolutely.
haven't raped enough, I haven't eaten enough babies, I haven't pedophiled enough, I haven't terrorized enough. They're literally driven by the evil. We would call them psychopaths. We would call them sociopaths, but what they're just demons in the flesh. Demonism or devilism is a uh, mindset. So, like Jesus Saves was saying, it's the psychology. That's the difference between a spiritual mind of Christ and a spiritual mind of the devil. The physical body is the same or similar, right? You know what I mean? We all have physical bodies. How do you know if somebody's a demon or not? It's their philosophy, their thought process. If a person wakes up in the morning and they're just prone to doing evil, I can guarantee you they're a demon. You're not going to get them to repent or anything like that. If they do go through it, it'll be hypocritical, it'll be cynical, and a mockery. But in their heart of hearts, they're just built like that. It's the same, it would be as diverse as coyotes are from domestic dogs. They're wild in their nature, and you're not going to change that. You may think you can, but you'll pet them one day and they'll just rip your hand off, and you'll be wondering where that come from. Well, they're not a pet, right? They're a wild animal. In the same sense, the psyche of the psychopaths perpetuating this crime is just a sick, debased, what the scriptures would call reprobated demon mindset. And you're not going, it can't be cured. There's no cure for that. You can only send it to jail or send it to hell. And the physical realm, it needs to be locked up. And this is why we need to collect evidence in order to um, get justice against these criminals who just hide in any secretive organization. Now, secretive organization don't necessarily have to be Masonic orders or occults. A secret society can literally be an alphabet agency such as the FBI. Any one of you know an FBI agent? You're probably not. I mean, I'm not talking about television shows like, CSI or anything like that. That's all Hollywood. In real life, it don't work like that, right? You don't know who these people are. You don't know where they're from. You don't know. That's called a secret society. Anyone knows a member of the CIA? I doubt it. Why? Because it's a secret society. NSA? No. You know, and this is a global organization. Those that are associated with CIA, FBI, and have powers with the fusion centers running these global horrendous campaigns of torture and murder. They're literally parts of secret societies that we have been conditioned to accept as legal national security necessities. And this can't be further from the truth. Every time they're caught doing something, it is an heinous, repulsive act, such as COINTELPRO, such as the LSD experiments, or maybe the Baltimore experiment, right? The Manhattan Project is always something destructive, bringing disease, death. And we know the recent 2020 situation where DARPA went over to Wuhan, China, right? And those trials that became public through congressional court hearings of gain of function research. And I'm not going to mention the word, but most of the people just completely let that slip their mind. But this is who you're allowing to have power and oversight and influence in your life. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'll digress. Trish, are you still on?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay. I will say this. What do you see a difference because you moved from Boston, right, to Louisiana? Do you see a difference in the way the community programs operate? up north versus here in the deep south?
Well, when I was up north, it was covert. It was when I moved down here, it became overt. So I can't really say, but I can say though, hold on. It's like, but I can say though that when I moved from New Orleans to the country, there's a big difference. There's a really big difference in the program.
And can you give us a little bit more detail?
Yeah, so when I moved, it was just chaos. The energy was horrible. I mean, it was absolutely demonic. I could not step outside without feeling like at any moment I could just drop dead because the atmosphere was so heavy and it was dark and it felt as if there were perps everywhere. I remember I drove down, I think it was around, I was driving down a street in mid city, and every house that I passed by, as soon as I passed by that house, people were coming out. Everyone was coming outside and they were looking at my car. And I was like, what the hell? But when I came down to the country, it's a lot like the atmosphere, even though to they're trying to mimic what they did in New Orleans, but for some strange reason it's not as effective here, and I don't feel that heaviness here.
I can definitely see that because New Orleans is it has some deep uh, spiritual dark roots, all the way from like slave trade to the practice of voodoo and witchcraft, Satanism, uh, soothsayers, necromancers, all that is accepted in, I wouldn't say every community, but in the um, what would I use? Like in the ideal of New Orleans as a whole, it is pretty much accepted there. And so you'll see a lot of palm readings, fortune tellers, etc., voodoo shops where people go to seek witches and warlocks, basically underneath different titles for solutions of life, including putting hexes and etc. Now, it's not as pronounced and prominent now as it was back in the days, but it's just, I would say, even more potent because you have
Yep.
technology and then you have the subtlety in disguise. You don't know who's who. Back in the days, people could identify someone associated with voodoo, necromancy, witchcraft, sorcery, etc. Now, it's much more subtle. Sometimes just plain, there's nothing to identify them. But you don't know, and they're doing human sacrifices, seances, and rituals on people, and they're involved in occultic rituals. There may be subtle hints such as the wearing of crystals around the neck, darker black fingernails or lipstick, etc. But those are subtle hints. But not every time will you even get the subtlety. To include tragic, you're in the Big Apple, right?
Yes.
New York City. And that just the ideal of what the harassment would be like in a city the magnitude of New York is just mind-boggling. So, do your harassment ever subside? Are there ever moments where there's breaks or peace recovery opportunities in New York City?
Yes, but I've gotten breaks because they literally gave me a break. That's why I don't escape from them. There's nowhere I can go. Uh, for like in two instances, like during, and this was even, I think even during the beginning, during the confusion stage, like they just backed off during two occasions for like 5 days each. They just kind of backed off. They were going really hard, really hard, really hard, and they were doing so many triggers, whatever. So one of the triggers was pulling on your mask, because this is when everyone had to mask up. So I'm talking to my friend who's a doorman, right? I just stopped by to talk to him, and he keeps pulling on his mask, and I'm thinking, wait, he's not a part of it, and you know, this is not it. And at first I was like, wait a minute, but then it's like, wait, he's not a part of it, and then it didn't even bother me when in fact that was a trigger. So after I leave him, I go to my neighborhood bar, and they call the guy in literally to sit next to me and start doing hand gestures and sniffling and touching his goddamn nose. And because I just walked off with my friend thinking, hey, these things are natural and it happens, it didn't even bother me. It literally didn't bother me. I'm just looking at him like, okay, whatever, doesn't bother me. So, and like after a few minutes, he got up and he left and he went away. And then like, you know, it just, like, and then after that, it just like, even if I saw specific colors, this and that, it wouldn't bother me. And then for like after that, even the people at my building wouldn't even harass me where I work. Even they stopped harassing me. So I took it out my head that this is something negative, and they just somehow backed off, and they gave me like a week off. And then I even thought to myself, did I imagine all this? Like, did all that really happen? And then I'm looking online, be like, are these people online on YouTube bugging out? Like, I started questioning myself. So then I don't pay attention. I get like a week of peace, and then they send someone eventually to walk by me and hit me with two conditioned stimuli, and it pissed me off, and I got upset. And then they just went back to normal. They started it up again.
And the next live stream, I want to bring out some books concerning dark psychology,
Yeah.
and I believe that it is very necessary um, and dire that we learn the thought process of those that operate in the art of dark psychology. Now, you guys can order the book online, Dark Psychology. I can't remember whose it's by. I'll try to leave it in the comment box after this live stream ends, for those of you who um, like to explore uh, literature and learn. Um, the scripture tells us not to be ignorant of Satan devices. So I will read, not to be tainted by their um, ideologies, but to have an inside view of the thought processes that motivate their behaviors against us. But what you just described is very characteristic of the psychological warfare of the Operation Paperclip Nazi apparatus, which includes the CIA and Sector 5, which is the Black Ops division of the FBI. They call it good cop, bad cop, etc. As a matter of fact, psychology, the discipline itself, was um, discovered in a very inhumane capacity, at least Western world psychology. You guys should look up people like William von Carl von Linnaeus, Sigmund Freud, etc., and uh, go back into the archives of how they began to develop the so-called discipline of psychology and positive psychology, etc. It was very uh, gr- uh, graphic and dark in nature. Most of it involved the mutilization and complete psychological and physical torture of human lives. Many people died as they were developing these so-called nuances of science. And I will open up the floor for you guys to give last words, but we're approaching 1 hour and 40 minutes. So, of course, ladies first. So, Trish, anything that you want to say in your closing remarks to the viewing audience as it relates to exposing this program?
What I can say is if you have a YouTube channel, keep putting content out there. It doesn't exactly have to be,
Your audio is very messed up. Could you repeat?
So I'll say one of the things that people can do for anyone who's listening is, start a YouTube channel, speak up, it doesn't have, you don't have to post a million one head lighter videos. Like, you could literally just come on and encourage people, but as long as we keep talking about this, then the more we talk about it, the more the word is going to go out. Because if we don't talk about it, then if we stay silent, then these people are going to continue to do this without any repercussions. So I would urge people, do something, whether it's share a link or, start a YouTube channel. That's all I got to say.
All right. And well said. So doing something, showing up is half the battle, but after you get on the battlefield, something must be done. So, what are you going to do in order to combat this beast, this monster that is destroying the lives of men, women, and children across the globe, especially here in the United Wicked Snakes of America? You have to do something after you show up for the battle. Being a spectator on the battlefield will only leave you as a casualty of this war. You got to pick a side. In my household, we're on the Most High Yah side. We're on the side of Christ. We're on the side of goodness and light, and we're on the side of humanity uh, and all righteousness. Uh, you have the floor, Tragic. Go ahead. Any last words or comments?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me again. It was a pleasure. And what I have to say, I have to kind of like add to what Trisha was saying, that people do need to do more. You know what I mean? Like, there need, like, whether people think this works or not, I would be willing to, like, go on the streets and protest, so that people can hear this. You got to start something, like, our algorithms are kind of hidden on YouTube. Our info is not really getting out there. And then when it does, we have to go up against all the misinformation and, that are put against us. And, like, if I live in New York, and if I would have to do this, I would go in the middle of Times Square and explain to people how, they have a watch list, and FBI agents are incentivized to throw people on this watch list that is probably coming down, who I just somehow just explain this, and another thing is that TIs should kind of be there a little bit more for each other, because some TIs are less fortunate than others, but that doesn't really happen. I don't see that happening. Like, for instance, I'm in New York. I know a bunch of New York City TIs. These people, they don't really meet. They don't really go, they're not really there for each other. Then they end up turning on each other, calling each other perps. And it just, I don't see people doing enough. I think people need to do a little more, get out there, protest, do the footwork, and then also be there for other TIs, meet up, link up, discuss this, figure things out, you know. And you know, people should want to do this not just because you're targeted, you know, do this because somebody you love could be targeted. You know, the TIs who have children, think about them. Think about them. You know, I do this for the younger me, for the me that was a kid. That's why I do a little bit of activism, and I'm willing to go out on the streets and protest. You know what I mean? So I just feel like people should put a little more thought into this, be a little more proactive. That's my final thoughts.
Well said. Be proactive, be solutionary. Don't just talk about it. Come together and be part of the solution.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're waiting for the Holy Spirit to do it for you, it's not going to happen. If you're willing as a vessel um, of the Most High Yah, He will do it through you. There's a huge treasure, a nugget that I just tossed out there. Um, Once again, if you're expecting the Holy Spirit to come down and do all the work for you, it'll never happen. Now, if you're a willing vessel that will allow Him to do the work through you, it will happen. So if we want solution, we're going to have to be willing vessels that carry out the work and will of the Holy Spirit. And that regards, you guys continue to press in the word, continue to research, study, you know, and grow in knowledge and grace, not just in the word, but know your rights. Most people, if I asked them what are their Bill of Rights, they couldn't tell me. If I asked them, you know, what is the Third Amendment, they don't know what that is. So before we close, for those of you who's watching this live stream, your First Amendment, it protects you. They can't give you rights. You're born with human rights. They can only protect them from being sabotaged, impeded upon, or taken away here in the United, well, here in America, you have the First Amendment protection of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, which is journalism, the right to get your story out, to be heard, peaceable assembly. So us coming together peaceably is a protected right of ours, and the right to petition the government, those in authority, in times of grievance. So if you're grieved by these COINTELPRO actions, you have the right to petition them, to write a petition, and a petition is just a request that amendment change takes place. Your Second Amendment protection is the right to bear arms. You have the right to protect yourself, to defend yourself. Even I was talking with a few TIs earlier, and I said, you know, the way that you know this is a divine right, even you know, bees and wasps and insects, they have mechanisms of protection to protect the life that they've been given by the Most High. You know, you take a bee, for example, it goes about creating honey and pollinating the flowers and the fruits and the vegetations of the field. But if its life is in jeopardy, if it's being threatened, then it definitely has a weapon equipped by the Most High to protect itself. And as a human being, you should have the right to protect your life. People are being tortured, murdered, raped, violated in the worst way, drugs, especially women and children. And now with the homosexuality, transgender movement of Sodom and Gomorrah, America, men are being raped. The Harrison County, Texas press printed a paper, I believe, around 2017 that stated over 70 straight men had been assaulted and raped. And there was no leads to the case. A couple of the victims was walking home from work when they were assaulted, thrown in the back of vans, and brutally sodomized by these homosexual gang stalkers. So you guys take that Second Amendment very serious. And with the pedophilia on the rise, please protect the children. That's where my heart truly goes out. The Third Amendment right is they do not have the right to house, whether in your community or in your personal residence, soldiers or government agencies. So them moving militant sectors into our communities, this is unconstitutional. Whether they consider themselves to be part of Homeland Security, a Department of Defense, or just private security sector, this violates your Third Amendment right. If you see militant CMOs, civilian military operatives in your community, just know that you're supposed to be protected against that. Document it, file a complaint. It's a crime. Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizures, and you have the right to be protected, whether in your persons, in your biosphere, your human body, meaning no directed energy weapons, no neural cybernetic attacks, poisoning, etc., papers, and intellectual property, meaning if your emails are being hacked, FISA is a violation of your Fourth Amendment, your phone activity, etc., internet searches, violation of your Fourth Amendment. Your Fifth Amendment means no double jeopardy. Your due process. You can't be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process. They can't just go around, putting you underneath endless reviews of threat assessment and psychological assessment, depriving you of life, liberty, happiness, destroying your life and your relationships without violating this protection. It is a constitutional crime. It further sets forth against no self-intimidation, meaning that they can't utilize unauthorized, unwarranted surveillance in order to criminalize you, whether to the public or in court. And you have the right to be informed of any claims or allegations made against you. And the next live stream, we will go through the remaining Bill of Rights and allow other targeted individuals to come on and express themselves and talk about what rights of yours have been violated. Know your rights, stand on your rights, and if they're being violated, express it. Here on this channel, you're allowed to do so. Till next time, continue to stay woke, continue to stay in the word, and I promise you, you will be blessed. Your boy, MTAC, as always, has got to be his out.